This video covers Fall Review 1 of 4 over solving equations and inequalities of all types. So example 1, we have information about the value of y varying directly with x. When y is 15 and x is 9, what is the value of x if y is 20? So the easiest thing that we can do is set up proportions. So this first info, they tell me y is 15 and x is 9. So I'm going to put those together in a proportion. They want to know x if y is 20. Now, it doesn't matter if you put x or y on top. It is advised that you use this to make sure that you are putting the same things on the top and the bottom. When we did this in class, we also talked about varies directly means you have the point 0, 0. So you could put 0, 0 and 15, 9 or 9, 15 into stat edit if you want. But most kids seem to prefer the proportions. So I'm going to plug in and multiply 9 times 20 to get 180. And then x times 15 is 15x. And then I would divide both sides by 15, so 180 divided by 15, and I get 12 for x. Problem 2 is another proportion. They tell you that the amount by which a spring stretches is directly proportional to the weight it supports. Umberto hung a spring from a hook as shown in figure 1. He attached a 10-pound weight to the spring. It stretched 3 inches beyond its original length as shown in figure 2. If he attaches a 16-pound weight to the spring, how many inches will the spring stretch? So we are talking about pounds or weight and stretch. So in this example, in figure 2, they put a 10-pound weight and it stretched 3 inches. Keep in mind, this is not the total. This is the start. It starts at 2. It stretched to 5. So there's a difference of 3. Then they want to know if we do 16 pounds, how far will it stretch? So again, I'm going to cross multiply. So 3 times 16. And I get 48. 10 times x is 10x. And then I divide both sides by 10, and I get 4.8. None of these have 4.8, but h is the only one that has a 4. If you did 0.8, whoops, that's 0.5. 0.8 math inner, you could get that fraction of how they got the 4/5. Example 3, they give us a formula and they ask us to, they tell us it's the surface area S of a right circular cylinder, R is the radius, H is the height. What is the equation solved for H? So I'm going to rewrite it, and I know there's not a lot of room on this paper, but I'm trying to solve for H. So and don't call me after midnight. There is something being added or subtracted that I need to move. So I'm going to move that 2 pi r squared. So I have S minus 2 pi r squared equals 2 pi rh. And then 2 pi rh is being multiplied, so I will divide both sides by 2 pi r, which cancels over here and gives me h equals S minus 2 pi r squared divided by 2 pi r, which is answer choice A. Example 4, Andrea earns a flat fee of $20 per day plus an additional X dollars for every sale she makes. She made 10 sales last Saturday. The equation 10x plus 20 equals 80 represents the amount in dollars that she earned. How much does she earn for each sale? So they told us each sale is X, so we are solving for X. So don't call me after midnight. We don't have anything to distribute. We don't have anything to combine. We don't have variables on both sides. When I box my x, there is something to move. So I didn't need to add or subtract. And then I'm going to finish by multiplying or dividing. In this case, I divide because it's being multiplied. And I get 6, which is answer choice F. Example 5, what value of y will make this true? Basically solve for y. So when I box y, I don't have any parentheses to distribute. I don't have any like terms to combine. There is nothing to move because I have y only on one side. So I do need to add or subtract. So y over 2 equals 5. And then I do need to multiply or divide. In this case, it's multiplying. And y equals 10. Example 6, don't call me after midnight. We do have parentheses to distribute. So I take 5/7 and multiply it by 14. So 5/7, sevenths times 14, and that gives me 10. And then I'm going to do it again. Alpha y equals inner 5/7 times 21, and that's a negative 21. And I get negative 15. So because I had parentheses, I did need to distribute. When I put my line down the equal sign, there are not repeat x's or repeat numbers to combine. If I box my x, I only have x on one side, so I'm not going to move the x's. I do have a 10 outside the box that I need to move. And remember, anytime you cross that equal sign, you have to do the opposite sign. So because I'm crossing over to the other side, I subtracted 10. And then my last step is to multiply or divide. In this case, I'm dividing. So I'm going to divide 105 by a negative 15. And I get negative 7, which is answer choice F. Be careful, H and G have 1, so that's if you didn't divide correctly. And then J is a 7, but is not a negative 7, so that is not my answer. Example 7, they've asked me to solve for the value of x. So this is one where we're going to use every step in Don't Call Me After Midnight. So the first step is to distribute. So I take 4 and distribute to 2x and to 1. 27 stays the same. I take 3 and distribute to 2x and negative 5. So I've distributed the number in front through multiplication. I'm then going to combine like terms. On the left side, I don't have anything to combine, so I just rewrite. On the right side, I have repeats. I have 2 sets of numbers, so I do exactly what they say. I take 27 and I subtract 15 to get 12. So instead of 27 and negative 15, I write 12 because I have combined my like terms to make life easier for me. Next, I box both of my variables, and I do have variables on both sides, so I will need to move. Remember, anytime you cross the equal sign, you have to change signs, so I subtract 6x. It doesn't really matter which x you move. I just move the smaller ones because I don't like dealing with negatives. Next, when I rebox my x, I now have 2 x's total because I had 8 and I'm taking away 6. I do have something outside of the box to add or subtract, so I move it through the opposite sign, which in this case is subtraction. And then x is still not by itself, so I have to multiply or divide. In this case, I'm dividing because it's being multiplied, and I get that x equals 4, which is answer choice A. And example 8, they want me to figure out which inequality represents all the values for x. When we have this starting inequality and we know that y is 46, so I'm going to replace y with 46 and then solve for x. When solving for x, we use Don't Call Me After Midnight. I do have parentheses to distribute, so I distribute that negative 6. Remember, anything that is not in parentheses is not going to change. So negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Negative 6 times negative 18 is a positive 108. I do have like terms on the same side. 108 and negative 2 are both numbers, so I need to combine them to make it easier. So 108 minus 2 is 106. Remember, all I'm doing is putting them together. They are like terms, so I do exactly what they say. So in my calculator, 108 minus 2 is where that 106 came from. When I box my x, I don't have x's on both sides, so I don't need to move a variable. Outside of the box, I do have something, so I need to move that. 106 is positive, so I move it by subtracting. So 46 minus 106 is a negative 60. And then I finish the problem by dividing by a negative 6. Be very careful here. Because we divided by a negative 6 on both sides, this sign, the inequality sign, has to flip sides. And so negative 60 divided by negative 6 is 10, and I'm left with x. Now when I look at my answer choices, I can mark out anything that's not a negative 10, but these answer choices are backwards from my answer. So if I look at the inequality is eating that 10. So the inequality that eats 10 is answer choice B. You can also choose to rewrite it. When you rewrite, make sure you flip everything that is listed.